Let's talk about NXT. No news and notes. No Booker T. Very unfortunate. We start the show with Noam Dar and Oro Mensah being sneak attacked by Von Wagner and Mr. Stone, leading into that tag team match that I don't think anybody really wanted to see. Von Wagner and Mr. Stone versus Noam Dar and Oro Mensah. And despite the sneak attack, Noam Dar still managed to pin Von Wagner. I mean, I don't know who hates big guys more, Tony Khan, Triple H, or Shawn Michaels. There's no way of knowing. We can't figure it out. Who hates big guys more? Later, Von Wagner gets made fun of by Lexis King, who also made fun of Mr. Stone, saying that his sons probably look up to him because he's a star and he wins, unlike Mr. Stone, who is a loser. Later, beyond that, Noam Dar has a run-in with Drew Gulak and his squad, and he thinks they want to steal his Heritage Cup, but no, they want to win it because they want to represent British round system wrestling the appropriate way, unlike Noam Dar. Oh God, it's going to be Dempsey, isn't it? Dempsey's going to be the guy wrestling Noam Dar. Oh my God. Look, I don't mind that. I mean, it's fine, but I really just kind of want to get rid of this Heritage Cup. I will be great. I'll be so happy when it's gone. Second match, the Gallus Gauntlet, Ridge Holland versus Wolfgang, Mark Coffey, and Joe Coffey. The match is thrown out after Ridge Holland pins Wolfgang and almost pins Mark Coffey. The Gallus boys jump Ridge Holland after the match. He fights them back using a chair, and he becomes, I don't know, Superman, and manages to beat these guys with chairs, and the officials had to jump in the ring to help to pull him off of Joe Coffey. I don't get this. This is not working for me. Ridge Holland is something. Gallus used to be something. They used to be contenders, all four of them. But now, God, they just seem like they're going to be guys who are just going to be around forever. Why isn't Gallus on the main roster? They should be on the main roster, probably. Chase U, all their stuff is being returned. All is right with the world. JC motherfucking Jane. Huge pop out of me. Saved the school. She helped them through the dark times. Thea has a date with that guy, Riley Osborne, so she toddles off. JC Jane takes a giant envelope and gives it to Adriana Rizzo right in front of everybody, by the way. By the by. Adriana Rizzo says, this package is a little heavy, a little bit more than what you owe. So JC Jane says, yeah, I put a little bit of extra in there, and once you guys, win the tag team championship match, how about you consider giving Chase U a shot? And Adrian Rizzo says, yeah, I'll run it past the boss. And the boss, Tony D'Angelo, he's hanging around with Luca Cristofano, and I said he looks like Tony D'Angelo's brother. Like, the guy is an attorney who's clearly Italian. He should definitely be hanging out with these guys. Tony D'Angelo had no idea who he is. Instead of it, being a cousin or something, which could have been fun, we're just acting like they just met. So Luca Cristofano and Tony D'Angelo, they meet. They have small talk, and then Cristofano is told to beat it. They got to focus on the tag team title match, and Rizzo is there. She's got to focus on her match too. She's got a match against Jada Parker. Miss Parker. She was kind of nervous, but they of course talked about how good she is at fighting and doing fighting stuff from back in the day, back in the old neighborhood. It didn't do her any good because she lost to Jada Parker. The match was kind of sloppy, but it's the singles match debut for Adriana Rizzo. And I think Jada Parker has probably had 3 or 4 singles matches in her entire run. Well, I'm talking about mainline NXT. I'm not talking about Level Up. So, Jada Parker hasn't had that many matches. And Adriana Rizzo, I think this is her first singles match probably ever. I don't know if she even wrestled on Level Up. So, for somebody who, had their very first match, it was not terrible, but it wasn't great either. Jada Parker, they botched a couple of spots, especially when Jada Parker, she was about to go for a finish. But Rizzo was out of position. She had turned around and she ended up hitting her in the back. The finish was kind of weak. It was just kind of like a running punch to the face, a running forearm. Rizzo just needs some work. She got the character stuff down where she's kind of very brash, very over the top. I think her losing did not do her character any favors, because they've been spending all this time trying to put over Riz as being like this really tough girl who is, tough as nails and will fight anybody and, usually wins the fight. Just for her to lose her first match, it's like, she probably should have got disqualified. And to me, that would have just been a way to protect her gimmick and protect her character, is for her to basically just get disqualified. Go outside the ring and, hit her with the bell or hit Jada Parker with the bell or something. It's just something to protect her image. I know she's not like a big buff girl or anything like that, but people are not going to believe that she was the tough girl of the neighborhood if she loses her first fight and just get knocked out. It was very unfortunate for her. The bad news for the family continues because Tony D'Angelo and Stax lose the tag team championships to Bron Breakker and Baron Corbin, a.k.a. the War Dogs. So earlier in the night, Baron Corbin wants Bron Breakker to focus because he's thinking about SmackDown money. And Bron Breakker wants Baron Corbin to focus because he was thinking about the Chiefs winning the Super Bowl. They both agreed to focus on this match, and they ended up winning it. At one point, Bron Breakker is put through a table that literally made no effect at all on the finish of the match. Bron Breakker still manages to pin Stax to win the match. So now everybody thought Bron was putting over Tony D'Angelo. Well, I thought it. I'm not going to say everybody. Thought that Bron Breakker was going to put over Tony D'Angelo on his way out. I was wrong. He won. Why did he win? I don't know. Why is the NXT tag team division this shallow? Well, it's because Triple H insists on pulling people out of the division when it's not necessary. I mean, we could definitely have had the Creed brothers, and we still could have had Angel Garza and Humberto Carrillo, in this division doing some fun stuff, but they decided to pull all of those guys out. So now, who is Baron Corbin and Bron Breakker going to wrestle outside of just wrestling these guys again? I don't know. I mean, it is what it is, man. But they really went out of their way to shit all over the D'Angelo family in this match. Every single one of them lost. And they're adding a new member, apparently, who's going to be this Cristofano guy. And I'm guessing it's going to be Cristofano who's going to end up finagling them some way to getting the titles back. Which is weird because Tony D is a babyface. He's not a heel anymore. Which made me kind of question whether the War Dogs, quote unquote, were heels. Because Bron Breakker still does all his babyface stuff, including he's trying to do a Hurricane Rana in this match. This is probably the most babyface Baron Corbin has ever been. They making jokes and having fun. I don't know. I guess it didn't matter. I guess that's where we're at with this whole thing, is it doesn't matter anymore. The third match on the show, Tatum Paxley was defeated by Lola Vice. Lola Vice wins she uses the Vice Grip, her new submission hold, which is basically a head and arm scissor, where she choked her out. Lyra Valkyria came ringside to get in, to show some support for Tatum Paxley, who is not her friend, but somebody that she just decides she wants to come to the ring and support for no apparent reason. Lyra Valkyria was trying to root for Tatum Paxley, and she got choked out right in front of her. Then Lyra Valkyria actually carried Tatum Paxley away, which was very interesting. I was very intrigued by that. As soon as she gets to the back, however, she lays her on top of a box, which is the weirdest thing in the world. She didn't take her to the medical room or anything. She just laid her on top of the nearest box. Like, oh, this gigantic box. I'll just put you on top of this. This is a perfectly suitable medical facility for somebody who is, not conscious. We're going to take you to the nearest box and just lay you on top of it. Shotzi is there. She appears behind Lyra Valkyria. Talked about them going back and forth on Twitter, which made no sense. I'm like, I didn't see this. They didn't show me any tweets. So apparently they don't like each other. And Shotzi wants a championship match, and Lyra Valkyria agreed to it, and they'll fight next week. And okay, uh, what? Apparently, from what I know, Shotzi has been working NXT house shows, and she did an NXT house show recently, and that's where this match is coming from. But they just decided they're gonna build it off of. They go back and forth on social media. It's like, how about doing things on the show that I'm watching, and stop doing stuff that are not on the show that I'm watching? You know, I care about the things that are on the show that I take time to watch. How about that? Shotzi wants to walk into Elimination Chamber as the NXT Women's Champion, which makes no sense because this NXT Women's Champion, she shouldn't be in the Elimination Chamber match. So she's going to wrestle in both her qualifying match and her NXT Championship match, and she's going to lose them both. She ain't winning that title. She probably should just be sent back to NXT. I would imagine that when it's time to go to the CW, they're going to send a lot of people back. If they were smart, they would. The Creed brothers, Garza and Humberto, Shotzi, probably Austin Theory and Grayson Waller. It's a bunch of people you can send back to NXT just to brighten that roster up. But Shotzi wrestling Lyra Valkyria is fine. I don't think Shotzi should win. However, soon as Shotzi walks away, Tatum Paxley jumps up like, "Oh, we got Shotzi next week." So she was faking. She was faking because she liked that Lyra Valkyria was carrying her around. Lyra Valkyria is her hero. I'm not gonna hold you up. That was actually kind of sweet. It was pretty sweet. Dijak is being boring backstage. I mean, he's even boring himself with the reruns of his boring match last week. I know everybody liked Dijak and Ilya Dragunov. I didn't because it had Dijak in it. And when half the match is trash, the match tends to be trash. Dijak then grabbed the gym bag and went a walking. So he just disappeared. Carmelo Hayes is out here to have a nothing match with Joe Gacy. Joe Gacy is his entrance is that the camera is upside down and they're trying to be like Joe Gacy is the Joker, that's the last thing we need is more clowns in wrestling, more Jokers, more cosplay. And that's the last thing we need is more cosplayers. Anyway, this match seemed to go on forever. Carmelo Hayes won the match clean before Dijak jumped in the ring and attacked Joe Gacy, hit him with the nightstick, and then put a straitjacket on him, and then proceeded to kick his ass with the straitjacket on. All of that seemed very unnecessary, but they're trying to put over that Gacy's a nut job who can, take a lot of punishment. They're doing the Mick Foley thing with him. I don't understand why Carmelo Hayes had to wrestle Joe Gacy. What was the point of that? Why was Carmelo Hayes in this match at all, period? He should have just been enjoying the heat of what he did to Trick Williams. I don't care about Dijak. I really don't. Couldn't care less. It's very, very disappointed in the fact that this thing with him and Joe Gacy is going to continue. All right. So Brindley Reese is very excited backstage. She's doing squats. She's, just a big old bundle of energy. Kalani Jordan and Carmen Petrovich is there to try to get her to say, hey, it's okay to be nervous. Things are, Kiana James is dangerous. She's one of the top women in the company, blah, 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 blah. And then here comes our dear sister Lash Legend and her good friend Jakara Jackson. And they decided they were going to bully Kalani Jordan and, make fun of her. And so she made fun of them back by saying she doesn't know what, Noam Dar sees in them. And Lash Legend, basically threatened to, beat her ass. So I thought Kalani Jordan was about to go head up with Kiana James. That's what I thought. But it seems like she's going to have two feuds. Okay. Anyway, later in the show, Kiana James defeats Brindley Reese. A little help from Izzy Dane. Brindley Reese is just as generic as it comes. Holy mercy, she's super generic. So Idris Enofe and Malik Blade is backstage. Malik Blade is, he's feeling bad for Brindley Reese because she's so energetic and upbeat. And, she kind of got screwed over by this whole Izzy Dame thing. And he's worried about her and he wants to be there to comfort her. Well, Idris Enofe is like, well, she learned a lesson that it ain't all roses and bubbles. Maybe we can have her do 5 things she liked or 5 things she didn't like about her match. So then when Brindley Reese comes backstage, she is still a bundle of energy. did not care at all about losing. And then basically says, oh, the difference is Kiana James has more experience. I'm like, oh, so she's crazy. That's her gimmick. Her gimmick is that she's a psycho. The eternally positive ones, they're psychotic. Well, that's a psychotic character. She just pretends like this shit doesn't bother her at all. And they were like, well, you're not upset? She's like, oh, no. And, it's got to work harder. I'm like, oh, hell no. If they could tell an interesting story with her where she that stuff kind of happens to her and then she eventually snaps, that could be fun. But they're doing a good job of just establishing that she really is, I don't know, mentally deficient. Like you got cheated and you lost and you just kind of like, oh, well, them's the breaks. I'm like, oh, hell no. There's something wrong with you, kid. Anyway, Obafemi was out there, called himself the Mountain of NXT, said you can't argue with prophecy. Dragon Lee is a proud warrior, but it takes more than fighting spirit to win the title from him. He's still the alpha, and says you can send anybody to take this belt from him, but don't send anybody that you want back. And then out comes Lexis King, Scumbag Supreme, says that he's the one who softened up Dragon Lee for Obafemi, and is the reason why Obafemi is the champion, thinks that he is going to be the one that's going to take it from him. Obafemi thought about this for a second, said, okay, I'll give you your title shot next week, but sitting on my throne is not something you're actually going to do. And they ended up having a short brawl, which, to my dismay, Lexis King actually knocked Obafemi down. I think he took a knee, but still, I'm like, I don't know. Maybe that's a bit much. I know they're going to have a match and all, but come on. Lexis King ended up running away. Lexis King wrestling for the North American title. Obafemi is a heel, last I checked. He's still a heel, right? I know people like him because he's like that dude, but why are we booking heels against each other? Unless there's something about to happen here, which I don't see outside of Lexis King just doing a job, which, doesn't really hurt his character at all. Okay, I like Obafemi. That rules. All right, so there was a quote in the same font as the Japanese quote from Vengeance Day. It says, goodness is man's struggle. Evil is human nature. Oh, boy. Somebody's overthinking things. I will say, it's not far. I think it's not accurate. Like, not dead on. But being a good person is a struggle. And being a terrible person is very easy. But we have this thing called a conscience, which is the difference between humans and animals. So some people lack conscience and they can do horrible things to people, while other folks, their conscience will not allow them to do that. So I actually agree with the quote. I'm not even thinking about who it could be anymore because it's a nonsense quote that's out of context and we don't have any idea where it could be or what it's about. So I'm just going to talk about the quote because the quote was actually not terrible. Josh Briggs, Jay Malachi, what they calling him, Javon Evans, and that Dion guy that all the women makes all the women's thighs squishy. They're all backstage. I don't know what they're talking about. They're talking about the tag team title match, I think. And then Brooks Jensen says, you want me to have some balls? And then Josh Briggs is like, what the hell? It took you a week to come up with that. Then Brooks Jensen attacked Josh Briggs. And he started punching them all in the head and shit. So they started brawling backstage. And Ava, who is always there, she's never too far away from whatever is going on, right? Typical authority figure, typical police officer, typical cop, always there when you don't need him. She told him to take it to the ring, but then decided they're going to have a match next week. So Brooks Jensen, I thought they were going to do an amicable breakup. I thought they were going to do tough love, Briggs tough love on Jensen. They're going to force him to fight. So which one of them is going to be the heel in this scenario? Briggs just gave Jensen some tough love. Jensen took that and decided to start punching Briggs in the head. I don't like what is going on? And where's Fallon Henley? Who knows? Roxanne Perez is backstage. She's having a meltdown. She's completely upset. that Tatum Paxi screwed her out of her singles match. She's even more upset that Shotzi's getting a NXT Women's title shot just by asking and getting into an argument on social media. And she's pacing around the room talking to herself. She ain't talking to nobody in specifically. She's just running her mouth, blowing off steam. So this Ren Sinclair, who is painfully skinny, she's like a character from South Park or one of those early 2000s MTV cartoons like Daria or something like that. She's painfully skinny. Anyway, she's decided she's going to run down Shotzi's resume to Roxanne Perez and got punched in the chops, which, poor Ren Sinclair is just getting treated like a goddamn badminton ball every week. Somebody is putting their hands on her, knocking her down, kicking her in the shins. Like she's really just getting treated like trash around there. Roxanne Perez, full-blown heel now. She punched the girl in the face for no reason. She then marched off to Ava's office to complain about Shotzi, only to be told she had to wrestle Ren Sinclair next week, and then they'll talk about a championship match for her. Which, okay, fine. I whatever. Overall, NXT probably some of the matches were okay. I was more interested in the Jada Parker Rizzo match because I have never really watched either one of them extensively, and since they both had to work with the help of the guys, it was kind of like you get to see what they can do. So that was interesting, even though I don't think the match was great. The opening match I could have did without because I just don't care about Robert Stone and Von Wagner. I just don't care about those guys. This show has 6 matches on it. I didn't care about Carmelo Hayes and Joe Gacy. I would rather have Carmelo Hayes do character work. He got threatened by Ilya Dragunov, by the way, who is also not here, so unfortunate. The main event was fun. Well, it was kind of a banger. It was a very fun match. I'm surprised Bron Breakker won the match. Baron Corbin won a championship again, which is insane. That, the Triple H era is when Corbin wins another title. Where did this go? I don't know. I don't know where this is going, and I don't even know if I like it. I won't know if I like it or not until I see it's over. Because but look, I understand that they've been teasing Bron Breakker going up to the main roster, but they're not doing it yet. In my opinion, I wouldn't even bother calling them up. I know so many, look, they don't have a space for him. One of the issues that they complained about under Vince McMahon was, Vince will just call people up with no plan. Well, Triple H has signed people with no plan, called people up with no plan, pushed people with no real plan. He's been doing all this shit. I mean, from Bronson Reed to the Creed brothers to Andrade to Jay Cargill to just all these people that he's signed or called up from NXT, and they ain't doing a goddamn thing. Nothing. It's the same people that's in these spots as there was last year, or maybe even the year before when he took over. And I'm not just talking about, Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns. I'm talking about even in sort of the mid area, They haven't even bothered to replace most of those guys. And then there was people who were doing, I don't want to go down the whole Austin Theory rabbit hole again, because we already know that kid was actually going somewhere until Triple H decided to touch him. Similarly, Bron Breakker seemed to be on the right track, and then Triple H did this, which is put him in a tag team with goddamn Baron Corbin. At least they're the champions, so that's fine. But poor Tony D'Angelo, I don't know what you do with him. You put him back in the singles division, I think that would probably be for the best. He hasn't won a singles title yet. I don't think he was brought in to be a tag wrestler, but him and Stacks are a good team. I have fun with them. No OTM, which was great. I can't complain about that. But next week is going to be a bunch of championship matches. Shotzi versus Lyra Valkyria. That ought to be fun. Obafemi versus Lexis King. I think they're going to probably do something. No, they didn't announce a Heritage Cup anything next week. So next week ought to be better, especially for more storyline purposes. It's stand and deliver season, as they say. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later.